Kia ora team, welcome to Connecting Kōrero. Week 1. Yes, you've made it. Thank you for choosing to be part of our course. This is all about helping you to become confident, to have the kind of conversations that all of us have been avoiding. Yes, it's normal for us all to avoid conversations. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you're the only one that hasn't been having conversations and has been stressing out about them. We all have conversations that we are avoiding right now. And so this is all about how to help you have those conversations in a confident way. We want you to feel calm and curious when you're having these conversations. And so this is all about helping you to do that. It's mahi. It's going to be work. You've agreed to do 1 to 2 hours of work on this. These videos are only 10 to 15 minutes long. That's right. There's a lot of other time in that 1 to 2 hours because we want you to actually apply the stuff that we talk about. The videos are going to be packed with information and gold that you then need to actually go and apply. The application is the most important part, and we'll learn from each other as you participate in a group. And that's why we've kind of said we want you posting at least once a week and commenting on other people's posts at least twice a week. We want you involved. We want you to be engaged. We're all going to learn from each other, and we're all in the same boat. That is what we want you to be thinking about as you start off on this course. Now, here's a little bit of an overview of what we're actually going to cover. We're going to start off with thinking about how to change our mindset. How do we shift the paradigm that we currently have to be a more positive and confident paradigm for these kinds of conversations? We're also going to cover things like regulating your emotion, because that is such a big part of why people get stuck and why we avoid these conversations, is because it's so much kind of emotion that we're keeping stored up, actually compounding over time, that it makes us less and less confident to have these conversations. So that's such a big one we will be covering off in this course. We're also going to talk about how to aki someone's mana, how to manaaki someone, how to lift someone's mana, and how to hold the space in the conversation for both people or all people involved to have their mana maintained. This is a really important point because it's about respecting each other's inherent dignity, to the point that we're leaving space for them to choose how to respond, and we're okay with however that looks. We're going to cover the mindset stuff. We're going to cover the emotional regulation stuff. We're going to cover manaaki and how that needs to be an effect from our heart and wairua. And then we're also going to cover some things that are challenges and obstacles along the way that is normal for all of us to face. All of this is about helping you feel confident to then have the kind of conversation that you've been avoiding for a while. And we want you to have that conversation in a calm and curious way. So that's the overview of what we're going to cover in this course. This week, though, we are going to talk about reframing your mindset, seeing this whole thing in a different way. Before, we've been kind of told, or we've conditioned to understand, that these are difficult conversations. These are challenging. These are critical. That's not really given us the right vibe. That's given us the vibe of, I'm going to need to be defensive. I'm going to be super prepared about this and get all my guns ready to fire off at the other person. It's kind of like this whole power imbalance thing, where I'm the parent and I'm going to be telling off one of the kids about something they're not doing or should be doing, or I'm the manager or the boss. This is the employee and we need to get them in line because they're doing stuff they shouldn't be. That's not really the vibe we want. Connecting kōrero are actually about deepening a connection with the other person. So we go from this to this. We're on the same level. Mana of each person is being upheld irrespective of behavior. We're upholding each other's mana. We're also doing this in a way that's calm, because we are prepared for these conversations, and there's a resolution that comes from these that sometimes we just don't expect and don't know how it happens, but there's something that happens out of our control that helps resolve the challenge. So we're going from that old way of thinking, critical, difficult, challenging, to this new way, which is connecting, deeper relationship, calm, and being curious. That's what these conversations are all about. With that in mind, we need to think about reframing the way we see stuff. So let's think about an example. So how do we go from the old conversations, critical, challenging, and difficult, to connecting kōrero, right? Let's start with the whare at our own house with our own whānau. This situation may be familiar to you. It's where a parent is talking to a teenager about their exams. Your teenager's got an exam coming up next week. They haven't done any study for the last 6 to 7 weeks. You've noticed that they've done 0 on anything. They've been out with their mates on their phone most of the time. And so here's how the old way goes. Hey, you said you got an exam next week and you haven't been doing anything for it. Like you've done zero study at all. What are you doing about that? Shrug shoulders. And then you go straight into, right, that's it. No phone, no mates for the next week. You're just studying. Okay. That's the old way. Connecting kōrero way is going to be more like, is it okay if we catch up about something that I've noticed later on? Or if you're free now, we can do it now. Sure. Right. You get that kind of response. And then you're like, okay, cool. Hey, I noticed that from what I've seen, we haven't really been able to do too much study lately for whatever reason. And I remember you said that you've got an exam next week. Can you tell me more about that? What's up with that? Let them talk, hopefully, more than a shrug. If not, you just ask a couple more curious questions to find out. We're trying to just find out the context. We're not trying to give a solution straight away. We're just trying to ask some good find out questions to help them to recognize that maybe there's something we could do differently together and we can do it in a supportive way together. That's new way. We'll talk about how we actually switch the mindset to get into the new way as part of this kōrero. Now let's do an example at mahi, so in the workplace. And yes, for those that are super observant, yes, I've changed t-shirt, but that's because we actually got kicked out the other day and I'm doing this on a different day, so ka pai. Work example. Let's think about the person who has been late to the meetings all the time for ages, always comes late for some reason, never gets there on time. Also, we've noticed that they're always late with their reports or anything that you wanted to get done by X date. They always seem to be late for that for whatever reason, right? And there's always some reason, whatever it is. So that's the kind of person we're thinking about for this example. The person who's always late for everything. The old way of having those kōrero is to do the old passive aggressive kind of comment in front of everyone at the team meeting. For example, we've got a team meeting this week and we're going to say something like, late again, eh? Or couldn't find another part, could you? Or anything else that kind of intimates them being late in front of everyone and makes them feel awkward and makes them feel like you don't even know what's going on for me. That kind of vibe, that's the old way. All of those kind of little sneaky jabs, sneaky little comments that you're throwing out there to make them feel stink, or just because you want to get a response from them, that's the old way. New way, connecting kōrero way, is actually pull them aside. Don't do this in front of everyone. Pull them aside, have a little kōrero and say, hey, I've noticed that there's a little bit of a pattern over the last few weeks, months, however long, where things are coming in a little bit late, whether that's coming to work on time, whether it's getting to the meeting on time, or whether it's a report. I've noticed ... and then saying, is it okay if we have a kōrero about that? Maybe later today or now if you're free, and giving them the option to make a time to have a talk about that specific thing. Don't do it in front of everyone. I think I just need to reiterate that again. It's not an in front of everyone conversation. It is a individual one-on-one kōrero. You pull them aside, and then once you get that time to have the kōrero with them and you've locked that in, you actually keep the time. Don't move it. Don't come up with some reason why you can't do it. You do it at the time that they've agreed, and then you start with questions and you say something like, hey, I've noticed this a couple of times, and these are some of the instances where it happens, and I just wanted to find out a little bit more about what's going on. Because there's probably a bunch of stuff that I don't know, some context that I'm not aware of that I'd like to know about as it relates to this. So if you're good, can you share with me what's up for you? What's going on? Is there anything else that you wanted to tell me about? Question, listen. And then from there, you'll get a better understanding of where they're actually at. That's a connecting kōrero. That's the new way. Let's not do that old way. So now we're going to talk about how we actually go from person having the old way kōrero to the new connecting kōrero way. These are 3 tips that are going to help you break the pattern. We all just fall into this default way of doing things. And so these things are going to help us to break that pattern. So here are 3 tips to do that. Number 1 is write down and reflect on a situation that did not go well. I've had lots of experience doing these. But what I normally do for myself is I write in my journal the morning after something's happened. So each morning I'm writing my journal, and there'll be something that happened yesterday, and I'll be writing and reflecting about that situation. I write down what are the things that actually happened. Like, so if someone was observing the interaction and the engagement, what would they see? Then I write down what I actually felt. I was writing down what I actually was thinking, and I'll be writing a bunch of stuff out. Then I'll look at it and go, okay, how could I have done that differently? What could have looked better than that? What is a better way for me to do this? Then I'll start writing those things out. And I'll put that into a couple of sentences, as well as what I want to feel, as well as how I want them to feel at the end of it, because there's a contrast between what happened yesterday and what I want it to be like. So once I've done that, I've got in my mind ready for the next circumstance or situation that comes up with this person. The fact that I've written something down reminds me, it actually stops me in my old pattern. And it says to me, remember you wrote that stuff down in your journal? Okay, this is the time for you to do something different. And so different could be don't say anything. Different could be say something but different. More connecting kōrero kind of different. And so whatever it is, it gives me space to break that old pattern that I was doing before. So that's number one, is write down and reflect on something that didn't go well and how that could go better in the future. This is tip number 2 about how you can break a pattern. Let's pretend a kōrero is ready to happen, it's booked in, and you've got a day or 2 before that happens. Right? Most of us will start thinking of all the things that could happen that would go wrong, all of the reasons why I should avoid having this conversation, and all of the things that won't go well. They will argue, they will not like me, them to feel embarrassed and ashamed. All of these examples start to come up to your mind about why this isn't going to go well. The breaking the pattern bit is focus on a good outcome. Focus on you being confident and staying curious in the connecting kōrero. What does that look like? You shut the door, you sit down, you visualize what's actually going to happen. You focus on the good outcome. You could even imagine them answering the questions, being open, being honest, sharing stuff that was actually important to them that you didn't know before. You can even imagine coming to the end of that conversation and things are feeling so much better between you. There's just a different vibe. This is the focus that you need to have, because if you don't, and if you get caught up in the 50 eventualities of everything going wrong, you are going to want to put it off. You are going to want to try and reschedule. You're going to find something suddenly come up that means that you can't be there for that kōrero. Please do not reschedule when you've already booked something. You've committed, you've just got to stick to it, and you need to focus on things going really well. All right, tip number 3, to break the pattern. This one is happening right before your hui, right before the connecting kōrero. It's 10 minutes before the meeting starts. You're in your room or wherever the places that you're going to have the kōrero, and you write down the 8 things that you appreciate about that person that's about to come in. 8 things. Yes. Why 8? Just because it's a random number, but it just gets you thinking of more than the first 2 that pop into your mind. 8 things that you appreciate about this person, and you need to be specific. So you got to think specifically about what the 8 things are, and you might even think of some examples. And this is not because you're going to start rattling them off to them when they walk in the door either. And it's not for you to just throw out some positive things and do a nice little feedback sandwich. No, that's not what this is about. This is about changing the actual wairua of the environment in the room before they come in. If they feel, and you don't even have to mention any of these to them, they will feel something different just because you've been spending your mental energy focusing on things that you appreciate about them. They will feel different when they walk into their room, and you've set the right tone for a good kōrero, a good connecting kōrero to happen. Break the pattern by 10 minutes before you start that kōrero, before they arrive at your door or wherever it is you're going to have it. You are writing down 8 things that you appreciate about that person before they come in. And like I said, it doesn't have to be mentioned. They will feel the difference. The ability for you to have the connecting kōrero starts with you. It's not about the other person. It starts with you. And the 3 things that we've shared today, the 3 tips, are all about helping you personally feel more confident to have those kōrero. We've talked about, number 1, writing and reflecting on things that didn't go well and thinking about how it would go better. Number 2, in the lead up, you're focusing on the good outcome. And number 3, you are writing down right before the kōrero the positive things, the attributes, the characteristics about that person that you appreciate. What does this do? The benefits are you will feel less stressed. You will be less anxious. You will have less worry about all of the things that could go wrong. You will actually feel more confident when you go into the conversation with them. You'll be open to stay more curious. You'll ask better questions, and the conversation will go a whole lot better than had you not done these things. In the group, there are going to be actions posted for you this week. The learning is in doing the action. Please do the action, because you will get so much more from that than just listening to me talk about what I've done. Also, you need to post up what you've done, what you're doing, one post. And you also because we like engagement in our group, need to put a comment on 2 other people's posts. Yes, 2 other people's posts. That's us for this week, team. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.